So there's that mix between being in a lecture, big group of people, and then a bit of practical work as well. This is probably the question I have been wanting to ask in this whole series.
Okay.
You know what's coming, Tim. I can't wait to ask you this. Tell me about the Rubber Duck Appreciation Society. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Queen's University Belfast Life at the Lanyon podcast. For those that don't know, the Lanyon building sits at the heart of our campus here at Queen's, and it's one of the most beautiful, well-known buildings around Belfast. This podcast is going to give you the opportunity to get a real insight into what it's like being a Queen's student, and it's also going to give you the opportunity to make those informed decisions about whether you want to study with us or not. Now, my name is Raymond Miller, and I'm the undergraduate recruitment officer here at Queen's. And today we're going to be talking a wee bit about the student experience and why it can be the best student experience for you. So we're joined by two lovely guests. We have Erin and we have Tim. How you guys keeping? You doing all right?
Yeah, good.
Excellent. What have you been up to this morning?
Not much. Woke up.
Straight here?
Yeah, straight here.
Woke up, roll out of bed, and brush my teeth.
That's
Yeah,
good.
always
That's
a bonus.
a good way to
Always a
start.
bonus.
Always a good way to start the day. If you guys want to give a wee brief introduction to the viewers, just who you are, where you're from, what you're currently studying at Queen's.
Yeah, I'll go first. So I'm Erin. I study law here at Queen's, and I'm from the northeast of England, so about an hour out of Newcastle, a little tiny town called Redcar. That's where I'm from.
Yeah, so I'm Tim. I study computer science. I'm from up north in Limavady. I was originally from Hong Kong, so like we've got both ends of the spectrum here. But Limavady and Hong Kong, pretty similar. That's it.
Pretty similar places,
Pretty
yeah.
similar places.
Brilliant. Okay, so the purpose of this today is to kind of give that student experience, and there's lots of aspects to that. But the first thing I want to talk specifically about is just the course that you guys study, and how you found the course, what it's like. So I suppose, Tim, do you want to kind of tell us a wee bit about your course and maybe like the hours of study? How many hours are you in lectures? How does it work for you?
So during my first year, we had, I think, like 15 total, what they call teaching hours. So we have 3 modules every semester, and there's 2 semesters. So in the first semester, every module has 3 lecture hours and 2 practical hours. Lectures are what you'd expect. You sit in a lecture hall and then they teach you about all the theory, and you have 2 hours every week for that module to just practice all that theory.
So there's that mix between being in a lecture, big group of people, and then a bit of practical work as well. That's nice. What about yourself, Erin? Is it
Yeah,
similar?
exactly the same, really. Less hours, so about 9 hours I was in. I would get 2 hours worth of lectures plus an hour of what we call tutorials, so like seminars essentially, small groups, 15,
Yeah, so
about
smaller
15
groups,
people, yeah. And we're the same, 3 modules every semester, so in total we do about 9 hours worth of contact time.
Excellent. And what are you doing outside of those 9 hours?
Oh, studying.
Study, yeah.
I mean, yeah, uni's about having a good time. You know, you're in your your late teens, early 20s. You are here to have a good time as well. But I think one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was a lecturer, she's called Kira Hackett, in the law school, and she said, treat this like a full-time job. And it is like a full-time job. You know, I do probably on top of my 9 hours, I'll make about 25 to 30 hours worth of study time in total during a week, just because, I mean, you can probably appreciate it with law, but there's a lot of reading. There's a lot of extra stuff you need to know for courseworks, exams, that sort of thing. So yeah, I do spend a lot of time. But
I know, and it's important to consider that. You know, people will say there's 9 hours of like study, but outside of that, you got to treat it
that's
like
it. People will
full-time
see
job.
like a Wednesday and a Thursday free and just be like, oh my god, we can go here,
Oh,
we
I
can do
can
this.
sleep.
Yeah, I can sleep. It's like, nope, still need to be up, go to the library.
I know, and it is important. It's important to find that balance too. Obviously,
Yeah.
there may be days. It gives you that bit of flexibility.
That's
you
it.
can kind of do stuff that you need to do, but equally, you got to find the hours to do the work. Perfect. I was thinking a wee bit about placements as well, because for some courses there's a placement attached to it, other courses there isn't. So I think you guys have both ends of that spectrum. So there's a placement with your course time, isn't that right?
Yeah, so there's placement of my course like just built in. So every third year after you've done 2 years of study, the careers department really helps you to find that placement during your second year. So at the start of your second year,
you're not having to like go find that yourself.
Yeah,
There's placement officers
exactly.
there helping you.
So
No, that's good.
you could just go into a portal that they give you, and there's a full list of them. You can read through all of them, see which one you like, or you can apply to all of them, see which one you get back to, which is what I did. But I'm on a placement right now, just working as a software engineer, and that's what most people do. But that's not the only thing that's on offer. There's a lot of other opportunities like data analyst, like cybersecurity and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. So again, I suppose that's something to think about as well. Whenever you start a course, there's different modules you do each year, and
Yeah.
you can kind of direct the course as you go through it each year
Yeah.
to filter your needs. So you don't all have to do the same thing. There's lots of different options for you. Now that's really good to know and to consider that. Erin, placement opportunities not directly with your course. Is that
Yeah,
right?
so I personally haven't done a placement,
Yeah.
but I have friends that have. So one of my best mates at the moment took a year out, and he's working for the civil service,
Yeah.
which is a paid internship essentially. So
And he's doing law as well.
yeah, he does law. But then if you sort of do law with a language as a joint honours degree, obviously you do a year abroad as it is.
Yeah.
But if you don't, you just do straight law or law with politics. You can take your third year out, go study abroad. A couple of my friends did that as well. They just did the 6-month Erasmus programme and then came home and finished their degrees.
Okay.
But you can take a full year and then just come back and add an additional 4th year as your final year.
Yeah. And I suppose for people watching this or listening to this who are considering a course, it's definitely something to look at. Is there placement opportunities with the course? If not, what are the opportunities you can do? And in essence, anyone can take some time out of their studies
Yeah.
to do a work abroad program or a study abroad program. All the kind of options are there for you. No, that's great. The other thing I was thinking, where are you doing all this studying? So we talked about the library.
Yeah.
You said about like lectures. Where's that happening? Like, is everything in this beautiful Lanyon building, or
No.
is it kind of spread out across campus?
Yeah, really spread. I suppose everyone has their, like, you'll have your favourite
Yeah.
spots to study. I've got my favourite spots to study. The library for me is where I go. Like that, it's on my doorstep. So I live about 5 minutes away from the library. So it's probably the most convenient for me. But when I lived in first year, I was in Elms, the first year accommodation up on Malone Road, and they have a dedicated study space in there. So I'd go there quite often. My bedroom's a great one. I like studying from there. But then just like cafes, the Ulster
Yeah,
Museum
cafes are
cafe is
great.
really nice.
You know, that's interesting. Like some people love the quiet space of their bedroom to do work. See, sometimes I go to the library sometimes because I like, not that the library's that busy, but I like a bit of a buzz or a change
Yeah.
of scenery.
Yeah.
It's just
Or-
nice to be like surrounded by other people doing the same thing as you,
Exactly.
because when you sort of sat in your bedroom it's like a slog, but then when you see other people not on their phones, like
Yeah.
actually focusing, it's like, right, I actually
You
probably
gotta
should do
do
some
it,
work.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good advice. What about you? I suppose there's loads of
Yeah,
cool
there's-
facilities that you guys use through computer
It
science.
depends what year. In first year, I really studied in my room quite a lot.
Yeah.
My first year was during the COVID
Yeah,
years, so
same.
I was just in my room a lot less on campus. But then my second year changed quite a bit. I was in campus quite a lot more. So I used the computer science building. That's the main building that we would use. McClay too. Well, sometimes there's no seats and I have to go up to the 3rd floor. And by the time I get up, I'm just so tired.
Yeah,
I'm out of
especially
breath.
like now, like
If it's
exam
warm
season.
as well.
Yeah.
If it's warm and I'm wearing a coat,
Guys, you gotta
I
think of
just
the
die.
positive. You're getting a workout
Yeah,
in,
to be
Yeah,
and you're
that's
getting to
what
do
it
some
the
studying.
heart rate's going up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The lifts are lifesavers
Yeah.
sometimes.
Well, I suppose what's interesting about that is there is 3 floors. There's loads of
Yeah.
facilities
Oh,
in the
there's
library.
so much
huge.
space. Yeah,
Yeah.
there is so much space.
You might not get a space on the bottom floor, but there
Yeah,
is
that's
different
if
rooms.
you
And there's
walk up.
different rooms. Isn't there like rooms where
Yeah,
you
so
can
there's
like
study
group
rooms
work?
that you can book out as well.
Yeah, you can book rooms for like group project or like even solo ones as well.
Yeah, so it is good to have the variety. And saying that though, there's so many different places across campus that you don't even know are there. Like we
No.
have the Seamus Heaney Centre for HSS students, which I only sort of knew about in second year, which has
Yeah.
been fantastic because nobody knows about it.
And that's like
then-
another wee facility where you can go and do a bit of study.
exactly. And it's just sort of finding the little spaces here and there, just to use them to like the full benefit of them. Like it's
The
great.
new SU is pretty good as well,
Yeah.
actually. Cause
Oh, the
there's-
student union. It's just, so for those that are tuning in, it was built about sort of 6
opened-
months
yeah,
ago,
opened in
so it's
September,
really
yeah.
new. What's your like favorite thing about it, Tim? What do you love doing in there?
Oh, I run a lot of societies and club events in there, so like that's quite nice. Apart from that, just any of the normal working spaces.
Yeah.
I just sit there and I like having a chatter in the background. Like,
Yeah.
It stops me getting distracted because in a sense I'm already distracted by the
Yeah.
sound, so
Yeah.
I don't pull out my phone and stuff.
Amazing.
It's
And
really
I
good.
if I think of other kind of facilities where you can't necessarily study, but there's the PEC, which is the Physical Education Centre. So that's another place across campus where there's a cafe in there. So in essence, you could
study.
do a workout and then do some
Yeah.
studying in there. Loads of facilities, a pool, a gym, basketball nets,
Mm.
3G pitches. There's loads of cool stuff going in there. There's a QFT.
I
cinema,
love
Yeah.
the
another
QFT.
facility.
Yeah, I love the
Is-
QFT.
that's
Would you study
used-
in it?
Is that used
You-
kind of? So for those that don't know, the QFT is Queen's Film Theatre, and it's literally a cinema that we have on campus.
Mhm.
And is that used for studying or as a cinema?
In my year when I first came in, the DB scholarship, some of us got the other, like there was 2 options and one of them gave us an amount of money towards the QFT. So
Okay.
quite often we'll go in and just buy snacks and sit in there
Yeah.
and like eat and study a little bit. But I would mainly use it for the cinema
Yeah,
facilities
same.
because you get a lot of the film students they get taught in there. So if you wanting to do film, that sort of thing, like they
So
do get taught in there.
So if you're doing film studies, you get to study in there.
Yeah.
You're doing your lectures, your big group teaching. And then if you aren't a student that's doing film studies, you can go and watch a movie.
Yeah, and it's so cheap. It's like £4.50.
Yeah,
it's great.
it
Like
is really
when
cheap.
you're looking at like the Odeon in town, and it's like nearly £12. It's like absolutely not. Thank you.
Can't afford that.
Yeah.
Brilliant, guys. Thank you. So that's a really good insight into studying the course, what the course is like. It's going to vary from course to course. So if you're out there and you're thinking about computer science, or you're thinking about law or something else at Queen's, go on and working out what the course is all about, the structure, the hours of study, how it's assessed. All that stuff is really, really important. Okay. On this podcast, guys, we do this feature called Mythbusters. So we're going to do our Mythbusters here, where from being around campus and being in and out of schools, which is part of my job, I kind of hear people talking about these things, and we're going to dispel these myths. So the transition from school to uni is really hard. Thoughts?
I would say it's not really hard. It's difficult. It's different. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we had quite a different experience because we were like the COVID generation.
Sure,
so we didn't do A levels or anything like that. So we sort of left school at the age of 17 roughly, and then were chucked into university life and just like left and just waved at by our parents on the doorstep kind of thing.
We're just in years.
Yeah.
So you skip your A2s.
Yeah, same. Yeah. So it is different. It's
So would you say the hard part was, because you guys didn't do exams and you weren't kind of socializing as much, it was maybe hard for you guys specifically in first year?
possibly, because of that. But at the same time, like it is a big jump. Like you're going from studying 3 subjects or 4, however many you do at that stage, like pre 18, and then you go into just study 1 full time, pretty hardcore. Like you aren't given any leeway into it. You're chucked straight in at the deep end, and it can be quite daunting, I think. And it makes you sort of, nervous about the whole thing. But there's plenty of support. Like there's so much support through all the services. Plus the lecturers are amazing. Like you're not going to just be left crying.
I know that's really important too. Like, Tim, would you say there was you probably felt the same, but was there a transition as you went through the modules and the years that it kind of, you were kind of worked into how you study a certain way, and the things that you're taught, you were kind of gradually eased into it?
I think my life was a bit easier because I think my course anyway, they aim for, even if you haven't had any background in computer science, you could come do this course if you have an interest in it. So our course from the first year up is really like just building you from the ground up, from the very basics. So for me, who's done a computer science, it's called software systems development in A level, coming to first year, it wasn't too big of a challenge.
But people that didn't study that were still able to
able to go up.
No, that's
exactly.
important.
And the biggest challenge would probably be what you said, the change.
Yeah.
So like even the teaching style, instead of like one teacher to like 25 students in a class.
1 to 300.
Yeah, it's like 1 to 300. Yes, you can still talk to your lecturers, but it might feel daunting at first to walk up and just talk to your lecturers. My advice would be you'd ask them in the practicals. There are sometimes less people, and most of the time in practicals, the lecturer walks around, checks if you're okay. And like, oh, do you know how to do this? Are you getting on okay with this piece of work? And you could always be like, oh, I don't know how to do this, or in this lecture, I didn't get this. They'll always be there to help you.
Yeah, so it's all about, I suppose, that transition school to uni. There's a lot more independence. There's a lot more in you guys to work out how to do things, and that helps you become a more,
it's like you become well-rounded. Like I think coming to uni, you're becoming independent anyway. Like you move away from home for the first time, you have to cook, clean, everything for yourself. So it's scary, but you sort of have to go outside your comfort zone. If you're not willing to do that, sort of maybe uni isn't for you. But it is one of those things that you just sort of grab and just go with it. Like it is great, and like I loved first year. Like I absolutely loved it. Lots of people are always like, oh, would you do it again because of COVID? I'm like, absolutely not. Like I had the best time. Like
Yeah.
Brilliant. No, love to hear that. Okay, that's that myth done. With 2 more. It's hard to make friends. What do you reckon?
I would say no, but it would obviously depend on the person. Even during COVID, I made a lot of friends. Even we did this thing, so we had a Zoom call, like meeting every Saturday before like uni, of just random. I don't know how we actually.
Who are these people?
So like these are people that are just like going
Signed
to
up.
Queen's.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
And I don't know how this started. Like I just remember
Was it like
going
a
on.
Facebook group or an
think it
Instagram
was a
group or
Facebook
something?
Maybe it was a
group.
Facebook
Yeah,
group.
and
We
then-
Were you
would
in
do
it?
that whenever students are coming to the
Yeah.
uni. will we put students together in similar,
Yeah.
like in groups, so they
Yeah.
can kind of meet each other before they come, and then
Yeah, so maybe
so it
that's
might have been
what-
that.
Yeah, and then we just started playing games like every Saturday, or like just chatted, just random stuff like that. And even during COVID, like you see people in lectures that you know, and they know people. And then if you make an effort to just try get to know people, then
They'll be receptive.
you'll be
to that,
okay. Yeah.
It is,
Similar
yeah,
experience?
very similar. It is that whole thing about stepping out your comfort zone again. Like, I'm quite loud, very extroverted. I'll speak to anyone about anything. So, it wasn't too hard for me. But it is like literally the only piece of advice I have on it is when you're moving into halls, bring a box of sweets with you. Just put them in the kitchen, leave a little note being like, hi, I'm Erin, I'm in room 7, like knock on my door if you want to chat, that sort of thing. And it's just sort of makes you friendly from the offset and just enters you into the flat.
Another student gave a really good bit of advice, not on this series, but I was chatting to them one time, and they said whenever they first moved into uni, they propped their door open.
Yeah, doorstop.
Because whenever everyone's moving in,
Yeah.
you know, they can just pop in and go, hi,
Yeah,
I'm here,
yeah.
you know.
It's
one
like an
of
actual house.
It's like one of the
Yeah.
things like you're told not to bring. It's like don't bring like a doorstop. It's a fire hazard. This isn't it, and it's like no, bring one because you need
Just
your
for that
door
first
open. Yeah,
day,
just
by
that
the way.
first day.
Yeah.
Just for the first day.
Just
then
for
throw it
moving
out,
in, meet
then you throw it
people.
out. Like, but yeah, that sort of thing. It's just putting yourself out there. Even sort of the first night that you're living in halls, just suggesting like, oh, should we get a takeaway, should I get a pizza, and like just sitting around chatting with everyone, and then sort of by the second and third week, you figured everyone out. You know what everyone's like, and then you're starting to make friends on your course as well. So it is really receptive. Like I moved across to a different country, you know. So it is. I've made some friends for life over here.
Amazing.
The hardest part is just the first step, really. Like, put yourself out there, get to know the person for like a few hours, and then
Yeah,
just
just
flow
jump in.
naturally.
Grand.
The last Mythbuster we're going to do here, university is all work and no play.
I say it's a good balance. I wouldn't say it's all work and no play. Like I said earlier about sort of treating it like a full-time job.
Yeah.
But even then you have downtime, and it's so important to spend that downtime doing the things you enjoy, whether that's sort of clubs and societies, just going for a run, going out to the pub with your friends, like going up to the Students' Union bar, the film theatre. There's so much going on around campus. Like you don't have to drag yourself to town, that kind of thing. So it's hard. Like university is difficult. Like it's the next step of your education, but in order to make your life a bit easier, it's so important to have like a good mental attitude to taking time off. Like I took a week off about a week ago. It was the first time I've ever done it properly, and it was the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah,
Like it was so good.
Everybody needs that wee period of reflection.
Yeah.
and It's the same probably if people are watching this and they're at school, they probably need a wee bit of reflective time, you know, because exams, work, all that stuff piles up. So you do need to take your time to just kind of reflect. What about yourself? All work and no play? What do you think, Tim?
I would agree that it's good balance. Maybe I'm more towards the play side and less towards the studying side, but it is a good balance. I feel like you can't really just study all day sometimes.
Yeah.
Like it's nice to study, say, every day for a little bit, but you need that rest between. Like my school really pushes it that you can't really just study all the time. There's lots of events on, and even if it's not like a fun event like say societies and stuff, your school has some random events, say like a talk or whatever. Like that's even a nice break. You can go grab free lunch. That's my best part.
Yeah,
the free
those sorts of
pizzas.
things.
Yeah,
They're really good. Like the Students' Union put loads of stuff on during the day. Like they were doing like free hot meals the other day. There was stuff outside the library. It's just
I missed that one. I should have been
they're doing loads
There's
actually.
free dinner,
they're
yeah.
doing like free dinner, free breakfast and
I
stuff at
missed
the
it too,
moment.
it was
So
raging.
no, it is important to find a good. It's healthy. Like you can't just work all of the time. You'd be run down. You'd just burn out immediately.
So we've established it's a balance. There's work and there's play. In terms of that kind of socializing, things to do in your spare time, one big thing that Queen's offer is obviously a range of clubs and societies.
Yeah.
I know you guys have joined a few clubs and societies. This is probably the question I have been wanting to ask in this whole series.
Okay.
You know what's coming, Tim. I can't wait to ask you this. Tell me about the Rubber Duck Appreciation Society.
right.
You heard that right, folks.
it's-
Tim is the president of the
I
Rub-
am the founding president.
the
yes,
founding president
yes.
of the Rubber Duck Appreciation Society. Tell me more about it.
So, from the name, we love rubber ducks. We appreciate rubber
Who
ducks.
doesn't?
It doesn't.
So, the origin, I'll keep it short, is this little jerk we started in A level, and it was never enacted until 3 years after. So now in my third year. So we pitched it to the SU, and we were like, the whole premise of it is to increase student engagement. A lot about what we just talked about, the all work no play type of thing. We want people to start engaging with just random fun stuff, even if it's not like, say, people might go to the archery society or archery club because they've done archery before. but then someone's like, I don't want to just join a society and don't know what it's all about, and I've just joined now. What do I do?
Yeah.
Type thing. So Rubber Duck Preaching Society hosts these duck raids. So we'll bring
duck
rubber
raid?
ducks. Yeah.
Right,
so
okay.
we'll bring rubber ducks to society events. So we host like taster sessions. So we're gonna work with I brought up archery because we're doing archery soon. So we'll go and say, do you want to host a taster session for us for just 1 week? And then our clubs will now just subsidize that for you. So it's free to go, free to try, and just getting people to try new things.
And what is a duck raid? Like, what do you do at a duck raid?
So it is just mainly whatever the other society does, but we bring rubber ducks to it and add that theme
Into
right.
their society,
into their
right?
society.
Okay.
I love it.
Other thing we do is duck hunts. It's similar to getting people to like try new things. It's getting people to explore new spaces in campus. So I'll just hide a duck somewhere, say in this building, take a photo and be like, go find it. You'll get a 5-point
Love it.
Amazon gift card.
Right.
I love
There
it.
you
Okay, so that makes sense. So you're calling these
Yes.
duck raids, and it's in essence, you're incorporating rubber ducks into an activity that already exists for a bit of crack, basically.
That's
I love
us.
I want to join.
Yeah, I kind of want to join. I'm sad that
It's free to
I've
join.
only got a couple of months left.
I love that. And I love that you've thought outside. You know, you did that in school. It was a bit of fun with your friends.
Yeah.
And you kind of thought outside the box
Yeah.
and went to the SU and said, can we do this? I love that. Any club and societies that you're part of, Erin?
Yeah, on and off really. So I'm a member of the Law Society, more the academic ones I do.
Yeah.
Feminism.
I suppose just to explain to people, there are societies that kind of do fun things like that. There are sports
Sports,
clubs.
yeah.
You know, your hockey,
Like rowing,
Dance.
rugby,
Rowing,
dance,
dance,
yeah, all
those
Volleyball,
sorts
those,
of
yeah.
things.
engineering.
and then
all that.
there are academic
Yeah.
societies as well, which relate to the course.
Yeah.
So you're part of the law.
Yeah, the Law
academic
Society. I do. I'm a member of the Feminist and Equality Society as well. Project Choice. So just quite a lot of things that I'm passionate about myself, which
Yeah.
is nice. That we have the academic societies here to be able to express your views, what you believe is right, what should be implemented, sort of, especially from a legal perspective, because the laws over here are very different to they are in England.
Yeah.
But I was also a mentor for homework clubs, which is run by the Students' Union. So I did that through my second year.
And were you mentoring obviously primary school kids
Yeah,
or
so
secondary?
I was mentoring between 6 and 16-year-olds. So anything from sort of basic like tiny children maths to all the way
Yeah.
up to GCSE.
Huge range,
Yeah, it was a
yeah.
huge range. But I found that really, really rewarding. Sort of, it was an hour out of my week, and I got a degree plus at the end of that.
Yeah,
So
and again, just to explain a bit, Degree Plus, it's actually now called the Future Ready
yes.
Award, and that's an accreditation that we give our students who do work-related activities like Erin's talking about. So there's loads of activities
There's so many you
that
can
fall under
do.
Future Ready, and if you meet all the hours for doing that, you get this accreditation
Mhm.
to say you've done all the
Yeah,
hours
just got
required.
stuck on like the end of your degree, and
Yeah,
just like it's just an
thing
extra
that's
bit.
part of your
Yeah.
degree. So that's important to do that. So in your spare time, you can do those things
Mhm.
as part of the clubs and societies. Any others to mention? I think you're a part of another one.
I
Tim?
have a few. So I'll list them here, and you can ask me about which one you want. So I'm part of the Queen's Computing Society, so that's more of an academic society. Also part of Queen's PAMSOC, which is Physics and Math
What is it?
Society.
Oh, okay. Yes.
But- Physics and math.
Don't ask me why I made it. My housemate's the president. I'm just here to help out. I'm not
Okay.
too involved, but like the grunt work, I'll come
Yeah.
and carry some
That's
stuff.
the good thing about
Yes.
societies as well, though, is like you can just
join
go
any,
for
like,
the
I
crack.
can-
Like
I
if
can
your
join
flatmate's
Law
just doing
Society,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, like
And
Anything
Queen's
else?
Esports Society, I'm part of, and there's a new one called Game Dev Society.
Okay. So I have a couple of questions. One, I'm sort of showing my age here. Everyone in the room probably knows what esports are. Tell me about esports. Is it just like gaming, or is that not what
Yeah,
it is?
so like you would watch football, but instead of watching football, you'd watch like teams play games
I get
against
you.
each other. So that's basically it. It's competitive gaming for certain titles.
I hear you. And actually, I get it.
Mm.
I had a friend, kind of diverting here slightly. I had a friend who was unbelievable. You know the game Gears of War?
Yes.
He was like number 2 in the world at one stage in Gears of War. There's
No
a whole rank
way.
of thing. Like he was unbelievable at it. And I was like, how are you so good at this? And he was like, come on and watch me one day. And I was watching him play, and I was
Mhm.
like, you're a talented man. I don't know what you do with this. Like, but he
Oh,
was
well
so
done.
good at this game. So that would be me
Mm.
watching
Yeah.
him play. That's in
Yeah,
essence what it is.
exactly. So like,
Interesting.
I
I have another question, sorry.
go ahead.
And it's sort of across all the clubs and societies. I would imagine they range, but how many duck raids do you have? How many times do you do
Mm.
something with the Law
Mhm,
Society?
mhm.
do you have to go to every event that is that what they do? They run events?
Yeah,
Do you have to go
so
to every one, or how does that work?
they'll run events. I mean, obviously you're the president of the, so I can only really speak from like what I'm part of. But they'll run events. They're optional. You don't have to go. I know for the Law Society it's a £5 membership, so some you do have to pay to join.
Yeah.
Others are completely free. But we run 2 balls every year as well. So we do a charity ball and then the Law Society ball, which is held in the Titanic Centre,
Amazing.
which is a really, really nice event. And that's open to everyone as well. Like, you don't just have to be a member of the society to go. So it's up to the board that is running the society how many times they do. So if you get a really good board, like, they'll do 2 things a week. Some will do like 1 every 2 weeks. It just depends on like the busyness as well, because you got to remember we're students as well. Like, the people that are running it are students, so if they're busy, they're not going to find the time to put stuff on.
Totally, that makes sense. And as you said there, it'll vary from club or society to club or society, how much time. I mean, the sports clubs, imagine they've games every week.
Yeah, like the rowing
stuff,
team train about
they
4
are
or 5
intense,
times.
I've
Like,
heard.
yeah,
Like,
that's crazy. Like,
they are
6
really
a.m.
into
starts.
rowing.
Yeah.
Those guys are amazing athletes. They get up
Yeah.
super early.
Different
Not that
breed.
everybody doesn't get it, but
Yeah, really early, I think.
Yeah.
they'll be doing they'll be out in the Lagan.
Yeah,
5 a.m.
till
Have one
8.
at
I'm like
breakfast.
snuggling in bed.
Yeah.
With your rubber ducks.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of clubs and societies. It was one thing you can do outside of your studies.
Mhm.
You mentioned there the homework club.
Yeah.
And we talked about the Future Ready Award. And there's other kind of volunteering or part-time jobs you can do that Queen's allow you to do. Any of you guys done any of those?
Yeah, so I work for AHSS as a GB ambassador.
So again, just for those that don't know, that's the Faculty of Arts, Humanities and Social Sciences.
Yeah.
Queen's is split up into 3 faculties. So the law course sits within AHSS. So
Yeah, so there's 5 schools in AHSS. Law is one of them. And I've worked for them since first year, actually. I just went to, because obviously we were in lockdown, they ran an event just to sort of check on us, make sure we were all okay. The GB team, essentially. And they sort of recruited a couple of us just to be like, come on, be an ambassador for us.
So you're an
Like,
ambassador for the school and
the
for
school.
the faculty. Whatever.
And I've loved it. It's been great.
What sort of stuff do you do as an
Oh
ambassador?
God, so much. Work open days. I'll do mailings. So if you have received any care packages, likelihood I packed those. The postcards, the Christmas cards we send out, all of those sorts of things.
Christmas cards?
Yeah, get Christmas
I
cards.
like
We send you
Christmas cards.
chocolate. We send you fudge. It's great. And I've sort of worked my way up now to sort of be the lead ambassador for HSS, which has been fantastic. And you get paid as well, which is really nice. So
That's the best part.
yeah, that's the best part. Like, it is good, and the flexibility of the hours. Sort of, even today, like, an email was just sent around being like, "Hey, is anyone available to do this?" And it's like, yeah, I am. And if you're not, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah, and that is good. And exactly what you described earlier, because you're so busy studying, you're busy doing your clubs and societies and other things, you need that bit of flexibility with work. So it's great that you have those opportunities. Anything you've done, Tim? That
I kind of do the same thing. I'm not like an official ambassador. I'm kind of just like an independent contractor, I guess. That's what you call them. But I just get the odd email from my faculty anyway. There's an open day here. We need people. Anyone want to do it? And I'll be like, am I free this Saturday?
Yeah.
Will I get up at 9 o'clock this Saturday?
Maybe.
There's free lunch. All right. Type thing. So
There's free lunch and you're getting paid. Oh, I'll be there.
there's like open days or like tours or like UCAS events, even just talking to students about busy stuff like this. I'm like,
and I suppose the work involved in that is just talking about your experience,
experience,
similar to
yeah.
this, talking
That's it.
about the course. So
it is pretty chill.
It's not
Yeah.
tasking. Like, it is just, it's
Have
nice.
some
it's
water.
important.
That's
and
it.
it's important work for the university,
Yeah.
and it gives you guys the opportunity to chat to people.
Something to put on your CV as well.
Something to put on
yeah.
CV. No, that's
Engagement. Yeah.
Mm.
Excellent.
All those
excellent.
keywords.
I need to do that. Update that LinkedIn.
Yeah.
so it is.
Final thing is to kind of just touch briefly on outside of your studies. We hear students talk about being a course rep or a school rep. Just briefly, can you kind of describe what those roles are? Tim, you've been both, I think, isn't that right?
I've been a module rep in first year, course rep second, and my current year, and I'm going to be the skill rep
Okay.
for my skill. We say triple ECS. Oh dear, I learned this off. Electronics and electrical engineering and computer science.
You got it.
One of the E's might be wrong. But,
No, that's it.
Doesn't matter.
is it? Yeah, so module rep in first year was you're in charge of your module. Well, I say in charge, you just talk to your students, see if there's any issues or what they like or don't like about the subject.
So you're the
Yeah,
representative.
so then you
for-
feed back
That
And you
module.
feed,
into...
and you feeding back to senior lecturers.
Yeah, so there's these thing called SVCs. student voice committee. So lecturers and like heads of schools and all your reps are there. So I think twice every semester you just go, if you have any feedback that wasn't resolved before, be like, can we have help doing this?
Yeah.
This is what the students feel like. So you've got module rep, course rep, and school rep is basically just one step up on how much you're looking after. They're pretty similar jobs.
So it's having a voice for the students, feeding back to your lecturers about specific modules, about the wider school, and then for the course as well. Yeah, so that's really interesting. It's good that you have that opportunity. So if you're studying something at Queen's and you feel like you maybe need a bit of extra support, or you're not sure how to do something, go to your school rep, your course rep, and they can relay that to the lecturers. That's good. Now, for some people watching this, listening to this, they'll know Belfast. They've been to Belfast. Others may be like yourself, coming from Great Britain. Belfast itself, what's it like as a city for students? Do you love it? Do you feel safe? Tell me about your experience of being in Belfast.
So my granddad's originally from Belfast, so I had been over before I sort of started looking at applying to university, and I love the city because I'm from a tiny little town in the middle of nowhere, right near the sea. Like, I don't come from a city at all, and I find here not to be like London, which is I hate. Like, I can't deal with built up big cities, so I sort of always liken Belfast to a good mix between Newcastle and York. So it's got like the history, the culture, but it is sort of still a city. It's not too big, which is nice. You can sort of get everywhere in about 20 minutes on foot. Like, to walk from the main Lanyon building, all the way down to town, it probably only takes you about 15 minutes. And there is a train as well that runs centrally down there, and the bus as well, but I love Belfast. I feel so safe here. I mean, I've lived here for 3 years now, so it is sort of like a second home. And my mum hates when I say that. I'm like, oh, I'm going home. She's like, no, you're not. It's not your home. This is your home. I'm like, no, mum, it is my home. But I love it. I'm really sad I'm moving back home to do my postgrad. So I'm going to be really sad to leave.
No, that's good. That's lovely that you had that experience, because the perception sometimes is, that obviously Belfast has a troubled past, but we've moved forward from that.
100%.
And it's, students, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you would feel safe in the city.
I feel so safe. Like, my mum, that was one of the reasons my mum and dad were like, because when I first mentioned it, they were like, absolutely not. Like, you're not on our doorstep. What if something happens? Obviously, with the troubled history, my granddad living through that as well, my dad's got had a perception of Belfast, which is quite hard to shift. But I think the modern student body, and I'm sure you see this in yourself, we're very open, we're very accepting. 24-hour security at Elms as well is really helpful. That really settled my parents' minds. We also have a partnership, I think it's with Value Cabs. Just in case of emergencies, the university has a partnership with them, just in case you find yourself in a situation that you need to get out of. But overall, like, I know I've had limited interactions with people that have been like, oh, this happened like last week, like, and even if something has, I've never heard a bad story about the Students' Union or the wellbeing team handling it. Everyone would be very open to somebody coming forward.
And I mean, it's not to say that every city in the world has
issues,
bad areas or issues,
Yeah.
but it's not like Belfast is particularly worse.
Yeah, absolutely not. Like, you know where to go and you know where to not go, kind of thing. Like, you know not to walk through certain places really late at night.
Students, the kind of perceptions, maybe we should have had this as a myth, but like, students are per students. You need a bit of extra money. You need to find cheap things to do. Are there cheap things to do in Belfast? Is it cheap to be here?
Ridiculously.
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 Like, even
cheap.
living, like, compared to other cities, like, rent is so much cheaper. And like, for cheap things to do, I do just stick to societies, because most of the events are free. So that's literally, and they give you free food.
Yeah.
And, like,
anything with free food, I'm there.
You don't have to buy lunch, and you get to do something fun. Like, that's great.
It is. I mean, I think it's one of the cheapest places to live in the whole of the UK, Belfast. I noticed a difference moving.
I can verify that's true.
Oh, good.
Lowest cost of living for
lowest
students.
Cost of living for students. There we go then.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, so it is great. You do end up with a little bit extra in your pocket, and sort of even like rent, like second year rent. Even first year, sort of paying for accommodation. I was paying, I think it's gone up since I was living there, but I was paying just below £150 a week, and some of my friends that were living in sort of Newcastle or Leeds University were paying like nearly £300 a week. So it is massively different, and I now pay about £320 a month. I share a house now, and people are paying back at home like 500 quid, and like
Yeah.
their weekly shops come into
I know.
like £90, and mine's about 40. It's like it is
No.
massively cheaper to live over here.
That's it's good to hear that experience, because we do tell people that, but
Yeah.
it's you guys that are living it
No.
right now, so you can.
Even sort of things like in first year we got a COVID payment just because like purely for the inconvenience of COVID, and we got
up with
a
that?
good amount of
Yeah.
money from that,
Yeah.
and when I went home I was like, oh, did you get this? And they're like, pardon?
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah,
oh
what is
yeah,
this?
sorry about that.
The university was so good at supporting students at that time,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
support in general. They're
Even now, the
very-
cost of living crisis, like we have received support. We've got a free pantry open in the Students' Union where you can
that's
just go and get like 3 items every day. Like,
My friend works there, and I swear he lives there.
yeah, it's the best.
Every time I walk past, he's just in there. I'm like, is this where you live?
Yeah,
And he's
never
like,
buying
yeah, yeah.
rice, never buying pasta again, never buying toilet roll again. Like they have everything in there. It's
and
great.
it's so good. It offers that support. As I
Uh-huh.
say. I suppose then in the wider city, Belfast, it isn't as big as London. We've described that it isn't as big as maybe Leeds or Manchester,
Mhm.
but there's still loads of stuff to do. Like I'm a big fan of going to music gigs,
Mhm.
and I remember years ago you're always kind of having to get a flight over to see
Yes.
ours, but they're all coming here.
Yeah.
now,
Mhm.
They always stick it on right at the end. They're always like the
Yeah.
last 2 days is Belfast. Like,
I know. They're like, yeah, we'll nip over
yeah,
there,
it's like,
good."
oh god, we
Yeah.
forgot about Belfast.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
Like, have you been to any gigs or anything recently?
Yeah, went to one for Two Door Cinema Club. I don't know if you
Oh
know
yeah,
them.
they were really terrible.
They're from Bangor, actually.
Was that in the Empire?
No, in Telegraph.
Yeah, Telegraph Building.
Telegraph,
Yeah,
that's where it was, yeah.
yeah.
That was
I-
great.
I
Yeah,
tried
I've
to get
seen that.
tickets for that and couldn't.
Oh,
But no,
So yeah, they do have people coming over, and then I suppose for sporting events as well,
so
Mhm.
much.
like Ulster Rugby,
Mhm. There's the Giants, the ice
the
hockey
Belfast
team.
Giants,
Yeah.
the football teams play here. Honestly, Belfast is such a evolving
Even
city.
then, like when you look at it, the ticket prices I always find are really cheap. I remember going to the Grand Opera House, which is the theatre in the town, I think I was seeing like Heathers or Six or something, and a ticket price I was like 15 quid, and in London they're charging like 60, 70 pounds,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. But like I saw the 1975 in January over at the SSA. I'm seeing Phil Wang, the comedian, on Sunday at Ulster Hall. So like there is a good comedy scene here as well. If
Yeah,
you're not
really
into
good.
music, the
Queen's Comedy.
yeah, Queen's Comedy, Lavery's Comedy Club, absolutely amazing. Like there are so many
I've seen
things.
a few comedians. There's lots of good local comedians in Ireland. A few of them are starting to play in the Mandela Hall
Yes,
as well, which
yeah.
is within Queen's facility. So yeah, there's great stuff to do outside of that. Y- for those that maybe aren't into sport, music, cultural stuff, I personally love the Crumlin Road Jail.
Yeah, it's
So
great.
for those that don't know, it was an actual jail, and it kind of depicts the historical past of Northern Ireland. So you can go in there and find out about our political history and past, and it's just such an interesting tour and place to go. Any other places like that you guys have been?
Belfast itself is so steeped in culture that you can't sort of go around a corner and like culture's just not shouting in your face kind
Yeah.
of thing. Like there's so much stuff to do. Like I would recommend as soon as you come over, in that sort of week or couple of days that you move in when your mum and dad are here, do the bus tour.
Yeah,
Like that's the best thing to do because it takes you literally all over the city, gives you a really brief introduction of the history, because I think it's really important to know it as
Yeah.
well, especially like someone that's not from here. It is kind of important just to get a little bit of a background. Even things like the Black Cab tours, the Ulster Museum is like it should be on campus basically. It is on campus.
Literally
Yeah,
beside campus.
like if there's one gate between campus and the Ulster Museum, and that
Free
is
entry, you
yeah,
go in
free
there.
entry, great. There's a really good exhibition on there at the moment for the 25 years of the Good Friday Agreement, and they change all the time. And the Troubles section in there is really good as well, just for a bit more history. But culturally, I love St George's Street Market in town. I find that really like it's just like sort of stepping back a little bit, but it is very modern. Loads of good vendors.
The St George's Market, local traders would
Yeah.
go there, and they kind of try and sell or
Yeah.
showcase their local products. So you
Yeah.
have like painters or people making kind of bespoke food.
Yeah.
It's a really great place to go. I love going there.
And sometimes they even have events on, like sometimes like they bring this thing called Young Enterprise. I don't know if you've seen that, and it's like school kids trying to start up businesses, and they have like stalls there just showcasing their business, and you can visit them. And they sometimes have conferences there. I think Digital DNA was there last year. There's
Yeah,
always just
some-
something on.
Loads of
Yeah,
stuff
there's
you can
always something on because it's small enough as well that you can walk everywhere. Like when I went to see the 1975 in January, I was like on a train for like 5 minutes, and normally my closest arena at home is in Newcastle, which is an hour and 20 minutes
Yeah.
away from me. So it's like it's nice just to be able to walk. Like
Totally. You mentioned earlier about kind of support, that you feel really supported at university. And we do have loads of support services who
Hmm.
are based in our new Students' Union building, One Elmwood. So I just want to talk about a couple of those. Firstly, the career service, Tim. I know you've used that service.
Mm.
It's the careers, employability, and skills service is their kind of their title. What sort of things have you
Mm.
utilized out of that service?
Yeah, so I've done like mock interviews with them,
Yeah,
them checking our CVs, saying, "Oh, they just left out this, we add this in," or like video, like one-to-one chats, and just being like, "Oh, what do I do at this interview?" Or like, "How should I apply for this
yeah,
stuff?" Like just a chat, like nothing too formal. Just if you need any advice of careers or you don't know how to do something, they're just there to book in slots to set up
yeah.
a
So
one-on-one.
you can actively go and seek
Yeah.
them out, and they'll give you that support. And it's so good to think about that because yes, everyone's coming to uni to study. They're
Hmm.
coming to have a bit of crack, join clubs and societies. Ultimately, you guys are here to find employment and
Yeah.
something you enjoy.
Yeah.
So having that career service there that have all those CV writing skills, interview
Hmm.
skills, they'll help you find placements. They'll help you with those global opportunities, the study
Mm-hmm.
abroad programs we talked about. So having all of that right on your doorstep is just so important. Other services that the Student Union have are disability services. So if any of our students have a disability at any level, they're there to offer them help and support. We have a wellbeing service. Any of you
Mm.
guys use the wellbeing service?
I've used the wellbeing service, mainly really just through first year, just because it was such a turbulent time. But I suffer with quite bad anxiety, and like I'm quite open about that. And it is just something there. Like it's nice just to know that they're
Yeah.
there, and there's just drop-in sessions. What's really amazing is that the wellbeing team have a representative that not doesn't live in, but works from the first year accommodation. So they're there 24/7 pretty much,
Yeah.
always answering their emails. They were great when we sort of inevitably all got COVID and had to isolate,
Yeah.
which is difficult to do when you're so far away from home. But even sort of they're there if you're concerned about a friend, if somebody's not showing up to class and you don't know why, like if you think there's something going on with somebody else's mental health and you just want them to check up on them, they're great for that as well. So it's not just all about you, they're there to look out for other people that you're also concerned about.
Amazing. No, that's really good to have that
Yeah.
service there. And I actually hadn't realized you can kind of, I mean, I don't know why I wouldn't think that you can kind of refer a friend and
Yeah, and I think that's what's nice because sometimes it's difficult to sit down with somebody and have a conversation and be like, hi, you're not okay.
yeah,
Whereas if you just email them being like, look, I'm a bit worried about so and so, like, do you mind? And they won't just be like, oh, Erin's emailed
barge
me
in.
about
Yeah,
you
yeah,
and they say you're not very well. Like, they'll just email being like, hi, we've got a drop-in session next
yes.
Tuesday. Do you fancy coming along? Like, or just even chucking them a bit extra support, like just checking in on them in class. I've never felt left behind, like, even if it was a new thing to me or to somebody else being like, actually I might be struggling a little bit here,
Hmm.
or I maybe need a bit of extra support because of the stress of uni, because it does get stressful.
Yeah.
They're there and they're great, and you don't even have to meet with them face to face if you don't want to. It can all just be exchanged like via Teams or on emails.
The other service, just to touch on before we finish, is the learning development service. So that's for students that maybe are struggling a wee bit academically. That transition from having your uniform on and the bell rings and
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
set school classes to
having to pick what to wear.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. You have to pick
not
your own
having
uniform every
not having
day.
a class until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, not
Yeah,
knowing to do your morning.
so like managing the workload around
Yeah.
that when you've had such structured time at school, the learning development service are there to help you and
Hmm.
support you through that, and they do various workshops. So again, having all that support is really really good,
Hmm.
and it's nice to hear that you guys have used those services and you've
Yeah.
really
I think it's
benefited from them.
important to use the services. They're there, they're free. Like, why wouldn't
Something
you?
that's important is that I think I've been getting emails recently about SU advice and how you can just book in drop-in sessions
Mm-hmm.
of saying it's it, it's very broad. It's like the thing I described in careers, but like say it's just any advice, like say housing advice or like financial advice, just
Yeah.
anything that you want to chat to someone about, you can just book in a
Yeah,
session.
they're
It's
great for that with sort of finances, housing, if you're having issues with sort of your landlord or because the students' union runs independently from the university. People always get really confused about that. So it isn't actually part of the university itself. It runs independently, but sort of alongside.
Mm.
And they're great for sort of fixing little problems or lobbying for certain things, like the cost of living crisis when we all got a bit of a chunk of money
Yeah,
towards that. Like, they are great
they
and
are
it's
students.
nice. Yeah, they're
they're
students
nice
themselves.
For the students.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they're students themselves and they know what we're going through, and sometimes finances are a bit tight if you've spent all your student loan right at the beginning of getting it. So it's really handy that they are there, and like that they're there as well.
Totally.
Mm.
And thanks for mentioning that, Tim, because that's important to note. This the services we talked about there are individual services, but then the Students' Union have an advice service separate to that,
Hmm.
like you say, that will answer any
General
advice queries
queries.
that you have about anything. So
Yeah.
the support is totally there for you. Brilliant, guys. Thank you. We'll finish up now, and can we kind of sum up your student experience?
Hmm.
We talked about maybe doing like a sentence, but I'm going to do a few
Yeah.
words.
Okay.
I like a words idea first. Tim, you're like,
Okay.
oh, I don't want to do
Oh,
words.
Not the words.
Let's go 3 to 5 words
Okay.
or small phrases to sum up your student experience.
You go first.
oh. What about like I do one word, you do one
Okay.
word?
I like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Alright.
Yeah, let's do that.
Alright.
So you have to get
Um,
5 in total.
Okay, I'm gonna say challenging because it was challenging. It is a big jump. It's different, but it's sort of like embracing that challenge and running with it and it making it your own, definitely. And I think I've come off pretty okay.
I think so too.
For lack of a better word, maybe customizable in the way that you can just choose what you want your uni experience to be. Like my uni experience could be completely different from someone else doing the exact same course, doing the exact same
Yeah.
classes as me.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter that we're just in the same course. They might be completely different
Yeah.
depending on what you want to do.
We'll give you the last word here, Erin.
Okay, I'll just gonna go for enjoyable then because it has been enjoyable. I'm so sad that I'm leaving really soon, like graduating this summer. I'm gonna cry a lot.
Yeah.
But it's a fantastic university and I hope you have come across to see it, like the people that are listening to this. And if you haven't, please do.
Yeah.
It's so beneficial to come across and actually look at the campus, get a feel for it, because until I came over, I was sort of still on the fence, get a feel for the modules, all that. But I've absolutely loved my time here and I think
Yeah.
Tim can say the same. Like
100%.
it'll be sorely missed, but it has been fabulous.
Amazing. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. That's been hopefully really helpful for our viewers or our listeners. And if you want any more information about what we've talked about today, you can email myself and I'll get it through to the guys. So it's studentrecruitment@qub.ac.uk. Hopefully you found that helpful. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks again to our guests. Thank you. We'll give ourselves a wee round of applause there. Well done.
Woo!
And hopefully you'll be able to join us on the next Life at the Lanyon podcast.